This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 214 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Today's tip is sponsored by Equestrian Collections. For the entire universe of equestrian shopping at your fingertips, visit equestriancollections.com. Enjoy today's tip. Hi, Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. Well, we have something new for you today. We have not had any insurance tips yet, equine insurance that is, and today's tip comes from a series that Chris is doing on the Jumping Radio show on insurance with Amy Daum from Broadstone Insurance. Broadstone Insurance is one of the leading equine insurance providers in the United States, and Amy is the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, and has been around the equine insurance world for a very long time. I knew her from when they first started Broadstone Insurance, actually. This tip is taken off of episode 14 of the Jumping Radio show, and you'll hear Chris Stafford and Amy Daum doing the tip on insurance. We thought that this would be somewhat important. It's something that people think about and never do, partly because they don't understand it, and they think it's going to be too expensive, and I think both of those are really not good reasons, because it's not as expensive as you think. It's a lot less expensive than a trip to the horse hospital, that's for sure. And, of course, they have life insurance for horses as well. So let's hear what Amy and Chris has to say right after I speak a little bit about my friends over at Equestrian Collections. It's that time of year right all over the country where the flies are out and they're becoming a pain in the butt. Fly season is really bad when it comes to your horses, especially those horses that are really sensitive. And Equestrian Collections has everything you would need for fly protection for your horse. They have the sheets and the masks and the fly sprays and the leg protectors. They have everything that you're going to need. You just go over to equestriancollections.com and you click on, they actually have a link right there for fly stuff right now. They have Best Shot sprays and grooming products, EquiSpa, it's safe. They have EquiLite botanicals, all of the natural fly sprays. Whatever you're going to need for your horse, you can find it at equestriancollections.com. And in the way of fly sheets, if yours is worn out or they've tore it, it's one of the things my horse was always good at, is tearing those fly sheets. You can find what you need over at equestriancollections.com. And I'm on their page now, and I got to tell you that on the fly page, main fly page, and there's an ad there for Centaur Horsewear, which has really nice fly sheets and fly masks and fly boots, and they have a fly flying around, two flies flying around the ad, and they're way too real looking. It's actually kind of annoying. So anyway, stop on over and check that out at equestriancollections.com. That's really disturbing, those flies. It's just like they're right inside my screen. So stop on over and check them out, all the fly stuff at equestriancollections.com. Get a $10 off your next orders, $120 or more, just by putting in the coupon code 10COUPON. That's 10 coupon. Thanks, everybody, and here is the first insurance tip of a series of them from Amy Daum.
Well, as I mentioned, Amy Daum is with Broadstone Insurance. She's based up in Middleburg, Virginia, and runs as COO and partner of Broadstone Insurance. She's, of course, intimately involved with the day-to-day practice of insuring horses. So I thought it would be very helpful if we brought some tips to you on what to consider when you're insuring your horse. So let's hear from Amy. Well, Amy, welcome back to the show. And we talked a little bit last week about what we can expect on this new segment to cover just about every aspect of horse insurance I think that our listeners would need to know. So what do you have now for our first installment?
I think I'd like to talk about what I call sort of our meat and potatoes of what we do, the bulk of our business, which is insurance for the average horse owner. Like I said earlier, it's a common misconception that so many of us have, lots of money in the bank and that, there's all this disposable income and we're very wealthy people. And while we wish that we were, that's not necessarily the case. And, it's one of those things, you insure your truck, you insure your trailer, you insure, all of your expensive equipment. It's interesting to me how many people don't stop and consider insuring their horse. I mean, not only is it an emotional investment, I mean, for most of us, these are part of the family, but it's also a significant financial investment. And a lot of times we don't necessarily have the money just standing by. God forbid the worst happens and we do lose that horse. So the bulk of what we really do, and our average, we insure horses literally from $1,000 to several $100,000. So we really do run the gamut as far as the type of clients that we insure. But the basic policy is pretty much the same across the board. The basic policy would be what you would consider your life insurance policy, which is what's called full mortality. That is basically what covers for death. It's a very broad policy. So it's going to cover for death due to just about anything you can think of, injury, illness, accident, disease. The things that it doesn't cover for are pretty rare. The exclusions are kind of scarily worded, things like nuclear radiation, war, and then a few other things. Of course, you purposely harming your horse would not be covered, or a pre-existing condition. But other than that, it is a very, very broad policy. In addition to those sorts of coverages under the mortality, you also are covered for theft if your horse is stolen. Not something that we generally hear of that often, but it does happen more than you might think. So theft is covered as well. And most mortality policies, now this is company dependent, so it really would depend on the company you are insuring with, do include some level of what we call free or excess colic surgery coverage. It's just an endorsement that they automatically attach, some companies, to their mortality policy that helps in the event of a colic surgery, providing the horse doesn't have a colic history. Now, that coverage is relatively limited from a dollar amount. Typically, from company to company, it's going to range between $2,500 to $3,000 maximum. So it's not going to get you through the an entire colic surgery, but it is a nice adjunct if you have something like major medical surgical attached to your policy as well. So that's your basic mortality policy. It's a relatively standard policy across the board as far as companies are concerned, because there are probably 6 to 8 insurance companies in this country that offer these sorts of coverages. Everyone varies slightly, but the mortality policy is pretty standardized company by company. So that's the basic idea. Now, as far as cost is concerned, because this is where I think there's a lot of misconceptions that it's a really expensive coverage to get, the idea behind premium is the mortality premium is based on your horse's age, breed, and use, generally speaking. And after that, it's just a percentage of the amount you insure the horse for. So, for example, use an easy number, a $10,000 event horse between the ages of 2 to 15, you're looking at a 3.6% rate. So your average mortality premium on a $10,000 event horse is probably about $360, with at least a few of the companies that we work with. So it can get a little higher, again, depending on the company. Rates vary slightly, anywhere from 3.6 up to a little bit more than 4% probably. But not a huge premium. It's not something that you're going to be having to hopefully dig too deeply into your wallet. Now, that's a $10,000 horse. Of course, the more you insure the horse for, the more your premium is going to cost. There's a common misconception, too, that people think they have to insure their horse for its full value. You don't have to do that. You can have a 4-star horse out there winning like gangbusters that's worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. You do not have to insure it for that amount. As long as you don't insure for more than the amount the horse is worth, the company doesn't mind if you insure for less. And that, of course, helps you on the budget side. So that's the basic idea behind the mortality policy. And that's your basic policy. That's where you start. If you want to add any endorsements to that, you first have to have the mortality policy in place.
To hear the rest of that show, just go to episode 14 of the Jumping Radio Show at jumpingradio.com. And we thank Amy for joining us here on the Horse Radio Network. Well, don't forget, you can check out all the other great shows on the network at horseradionetwork.com. We have quite a few of them now, 8 total shows. And I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.